Hey, Tyler.
What's going on, Chris?
Not much. Making sure that I've got everything set up and good to go. So, Tyler, you and I have a bit of a problem.
Oh,
We have a problem.
a problem.
We do.
That's not great.
You and I tend to go on tangents.
No, we don't. Says
and
who?
We tend to really sometimes drag out this podcast. And
What?
sadly, I found the most succinct view of this podcast that we can ever hear. I'm going to read that. That's going to be our podcast today.
Okay.
So, and I'm sorry, this is going to save the winners. It's going to be a really quick podcast for them. So, okay.
All right, I'm ready for it. Shortest podcast ever.
Shortest podcast ever. Rex. T. Oh, I remember this woman. That looks like an assassin. When Rex said everyone down, I imagined the senators would get on the table. Another clone? I don't remember the shadows. Is the base camp where the Hutts used to live? The Empire did to him whatever they were trying to do to the other clones where Crosshairs and Omega were kept. Hauser's a cool name. Echo's interaction with Omega regarding the crossbow is exactly a video game. Rip Hauser. I feel bad for Crosshair. Well, I've never been so grateful for a short waterfall before. Standard rule. If there's no body, then we can't say he's dead. Hooray, Wolf doesn't suck. He's probably going to get killed for that. Yep, no dead. Fuck that guy. Thank you guys for tuning in for the podcast. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Hey, we're back, everybody. Welcome, everyone, to the Wrong Button Podcast, the show where we talk all things nerd, most things video games, and generally anything that tickles our fancy. Hey, Tyler, how are you?
I'm good.
So, for those of you who are wondering what the hell just happened and why I decided to commit so hard to that, I've been on travel this week, so you guys are seeing me live. I literally landed 4 hours ago. Got my hair cut, took a shower,
all important
went
things.
grocery shopping, and now we're doing the podcast. But Mrs. Play and I typically watch it together, and she sits there, and I have my little notebook out. But I wasn't there. So Mrs. Play was texting me, because she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm watching the first episode, right? So I'm watching the first episode, and Mrs. Play's like, I'm going to call you now. So she calls, and of course I answer Mrs. Play, because it's, what am I going to do? Not answer Mrs. Play? Let's see how well that goes for me.
I'd love to see that play out.
Oh god, these are good. This episode not sponsored by, but cold brew caramel M&Ms. They're dangerous. This might be a trick or treat on the way to PAX. So Mrs. Play started texting me, and mind you, I've watched one episode, and she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna hang up with you because I want to go watch that." And I was like, "Cool, I'm gonna sit here and watch the second episode. Fun." So I'm in a hotel. I can't remember my Disney Plus login, but I have the app on my phone.
Been there so many times.
Can't get my phone to broadcast to the TV, which is a whole other issue I had. I was like, just broadcast to the TV. No. Broadcast to my computer. No. All right, fine. So I'm sitting here watching, and all I get are these text messages. And so Mrs. Play got a little frustrated with me because I wasn't answering her, but I literally was telling her, all right, I'm going to watch the second episode. And so she's just setting me stream of consciousness and getting a little agitated that I'm not answering her for these 2 episodes. So I figured I would give you that glamorous and gorgeous summary, which I read for everyone at work. And everyone at work is like, that's actually really funny. Like, Hauser is a cool name.
Hauser is a really cool name. But that's the entire essence of his character, is that in the first season of The Bad Batch, everybody freaked out because here we are transferring from the Republic to the Empire, and then you just see this clone with a cool-ass haircut on Ryloth, and his armor's still customized.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, this dude's not half bad, you know? Except in this episode, he was kind of a dick. Rightfully so.
Was he?
Oh yeah, between him and Crosshair.
Oh, that was Hauser, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was out. Yeah.
I had to like really think back on that, and then I've been sucked into some other things for work. But yeah, so first episode was infiltration. So that's where we're gonna infiltrate your thoughts here. With our
Oh
thoughts.
God, there it is.
Gotta-
I feel like we're playing some role reversal on this podcast.
Oh,
today.
with making the puns. Yeah, that's fair. I loved infiltration. I thought it was a stellar episode. I'm liking seeing former enemies kind of come together.
that open of the episode where Senator Singh is meeting Senator Chuchi.
Yeah,
Great to see her again. Was brilliant.
I kind of want to see her in Ahsoka.
Chuchi?
Yeah,
We don't even know if she's alive
Yeah, I
past
know.
this show.
yeah, I know. I kind of want her to be alive because I kind of want to see her in Ahsoka because she and Ahsoka are like
Yeah, they're BFFs.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that's all. Yeah, Singh and Chuchi, and it took me a moment to place Singh, but and when he was like, we weren't on the same side, she's like, we have a common enemy, and now neither of us is getting what we believed is right.
Just for your real world application here, I think things would go a lot better if you could just block out all the noise, put somebody in a room that you disagree with, and really sit down and talk about it.
Kind of like I forced you to do a gunpoint every Friday.
I do not know what you mean, Chris. What do you mean? I came here of my own free will,
Yeah.
Chris.
Glad I can put the remote further away this time.
But yeah, it really goes to show how how we're seeing like the early seeds of the rebellion planted,
Mm-hmm.
even just a couple of years after the Empire's formed. And what's really beautiful about it is that it's coming from former separatists and people who don't support the Empire but are a part of it, and that's where Chuchi is.
I also think it was great that they trust these clones implicitly. Like everyone realizes the value of a clone over the battle droid.
Yeah.
Like, of course, you can crank out a lot of battle droids, and the super battle droids. If you watch our playthrough of Republic Commando, they were terrifying, especially when they were shown off
Beefy.
in the original episode 2, when it's just like the one battle droid starts to get wounded, and he just like punches it over. Like they were terrifying.
Yeah.
But then it's like, we get the first episode of Clone Wars on Tridaria, and he's like, no, one clone is easily worth 10 battle droids. One Jedi is worth at least 1,000.
Yeah.
Like we get that, and to see a separatist come in under protection of Rex, which I was like, okay, you're trusting him for protection. Rex did a really crappy job of covering him in the open, like in the getting him to the place. But I was excited to see that.
Yeah, but did he die though? Mission accomplished. He didn't die.
Yeah, I don't think he does. Also, shout out for like poncho over armor.
Yes. Oh, great,
Like-
great look.
Like even going to that one episode, I think it was from Halo 5, where Master Chief's like got like battered armor and he's wearing just a random poncho for no reason. Shout out to poncho armor.
There's always a reason for ponchos. Don't ever say that there's no reason.
Yeah, but it's just like
You're styling and profiling.
yeah. So shout out Cameron's right. Shout out to the poncho. The other thing that really
That was a deep cut.
thank you. The other thing that super I love. How about that clone proficiency?
How do you mean?
So we've gotten to see now a few times where the stormtroopers are coming in and they're kind of interacting with clone commandos. And I don't ever expect a stormtrooper to ever like come up to a clone commando because they're really badass.
Yeah.
But the one gets taken out in the kitchen, and Rex is standing there, and he hears it. Like they've got everyone going up in there. They're calling, going like, "Hey, can you check in? Hey, man, check in, man. Check in." Rex, go to the kitchen, and he puts on his helmet, immediately looks over the kitchen, identifies the target, and they start moving.
Yeah.
And
Fair.
it feels like every time we see it with a stormtrooper, it's just like, all right, there go 3 stormtroopers, and it's comical. It kind of
Fumbling and bumbling.
It kind of gets a little comical later, in a weird way that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But just looking at how good, like, they were able to like isolate him, track him down, and just go through the motions. Like, you realize they are soldiers. They're so good at their job.
I mean, they are less than 2 years removed from the war that they were created for, so they're definitely still in their element. I thought whenever the Shadow, that unnamed clone, there's a lot of theories. We'll get into that soon.
I figured we'd do that.
I thought when he got to the top of that tower, he was actually going to make a break for it, and then was it Hauser who came? One of the clones came in on the speeder and just he stunned him not once, not twice, 3 times.
But he also, like, you notice, he was shrugging off some of those stuns.
Yeah, he was smart, and that's what I always love to see people do. If you think one's not going to do it, do it more.
Just keep putting it into him.
Yeah, kind of like the clones did in Order 66.
Yeah.
Shout out Ayla Secura just getting. She's dead already, guys. You got her. They're just.
Did you get your Jedi? And also, it really showed me there when we saw the faceless one, because they get captured, and they scan him. They get the electro, like, cyanide tablet that's in the teeth, and they get that out, and they're like, okay, we're gonna drag him away. We're gonna interrogate him. I'm not the biggest fan of Call of Duty Black Ops, but I loved the story for the first one with, like, Mason not being able to, like, what do the numbers mean, Mason? And you're always trying to figure out, like, okay, how much does he remember? What part of this is his programming? What part? And it's like the fact that clone, there are points where he reacts, and then later on towards the end of the episode, you're like, okay, were you reacting because it was a genuine? It was a general reaction, or was this like I'm gonna feed you a little bit. I'm gonna feed you a little bit here to, like, buy time, do whatever I need to do. And I thought that was really, really cool. It was weird when he was captured. Scorch gave the order to activate the other one.
Yeah.
And I was not expecting that.
What, a second Shadow? Or
I wasn't expecting it to be a clone.
It is we don't know what it is.
No. I wasn't expecting a clone to be activating the Shadow.
Oh. Well,
I was expecting that to be, if it was anyone, it would be Hemlock directly.
Yeah, but Scorch is a hardliner. He's for whatever reason, Scorch and his alliances have never once wavered, which pisses me off because I'm a big Scorch fan and I can't stand the fact that he's just standing by the Empire like this.
I love the Demolition guys. Like, it's always one of my favorite classes to play, and it was just such a weird one. The other thing is, I'm still surprised. So we've seen Scorch. Who was left behind? Who was left behind at the end of that?
Left behind at the
end of Republic Commando.
Put me on the spot here. I'm trying to think. Well, does it really matter though? Because Republic Commando's not. I know it's soft canon, but it's not hard canon. You know.
But then my question is, like, where's
the line drawn?
I would like to see the other ones, because Scorch. Like, Scorch is Scorch.
Yeah, the other ones were on. Were featured on the episode of the Clone Wars when they're bringing the bodies back to Coruscant of the King of Tordaria. R.I.P. my guy.
Yeah.
And they were bringing. I think they were the Jedi Temple.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Them. Yeah, I'd like to know where the others are too. But when you talk about clone proficiency, I'm gonna go the other way and say that I'm disappointed in them. Because here you have an agent you know little to nothing about, and you take him back to your stronghold.
But we scanned him.
That's the same kind of poodoo that gets the Alliance, that gets the rebellion in trouble years and years down the line.
Rex wasn't there for that part. I don't know. So for me, that made sense of the point that the clones are frontline soldiers, and sure, I will give them like Navy SEAL Ranger esque like special forces,
Yeah.
but not necessarily intel, and not necessarily like the psyop side of it. So they checked him, they found the thing they knew of, and they were like, we scanned him, but they didn't know what they were dealing with, and all they thought was like, he's a clone, he's a brother, we can talk to him.
And they got that data puck out of him, which I was really happy to see because we saw a lot of the puck in the Mandalorian, because that's where the list of the hit list was. It was Senator Singh was on it.
Yep, he like pulls it up and that's
yeah. But then also Omega's on it.
Yes,
which I thought is not surprising. Every Imperial operative in the galaxy is looking for the key to eternal life for their emperor without knowing it, because
or themselves.
Sure. I thought it was. I was sitting there, when we get to their stronghold and it's on Teth, and I was racking my brain throughout the entire episode, and I was sitting there. I was like, where have we seen this planet before? This planet is so familiar to me. Where have we seen this monastery? And then I realized Teth was the same planet during the Star Wars The Clone Wars movie where the Separatists and Asajj Ventress held Jabba the Hutt's son. Way back in 2008. I feel like I always find somehow some opportunity to mention that movie on this podcast at this point. But they were on Teth.
Huh.
I don't think it was the same monastery, but it was one of them. So the fact that Rex is hiding out in one of the first places we ever get to see him in the series, I thought that was...
No, that's a really good...
And nobody's really talking about it.
Because I didn't know where they were. I thought it was going to be some unnamed planet, blah, 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 blah. I don't... Yeah.
Kind of like how they did last episode.
Yeah, Okay, so that is a really cool throw around there. I like how like it's all Omega, and they're like, we're gonna call Clone Force 99 here, and then we do get that like seamless transition of like Echo being like, hey, Rex needs to talk to us, called us all here, blah 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 blah. They have a bigger ship. Can we start with that? So they have more because it also looks like at this point Echo's like, hey, or Rex looks at Echo and goes, hey, I thought we were supposed to go get Gregor, and he goes, Rex says this takes importance, I'll just go pick up Gregor. Gregor's fine. We've seen him take on a little bit of some. We've seen him take on some odds.
Yeah. Echo is just playing taxi driver in this episode. That's what's happening.
I wonder how much he knows
about what Rex is.
What Rex is like really doing. Like, not that he's betraying the Bad Batch or anything like that, but Echo is definitely of two worlds. He is not.
He sees both sides.
Yeah, he's
the one in the middle.
He is not just a reg, and he's not just a reg anymore.
He's more machine now than man.
Oh, we're gonna
references
pull all
just
of these,
keep
aren't
coming.
You? Yeah, keep going. And so he gets to see a little bit of Clone Force 99, but then he also sees it from Rex's point of view. Through the T visor that he's got.
Yeah,
the T Rex visor. That was a bad one. I'm sorry. And I'm wondering if he knew more, because his answers were a little curt. They weren't.
They were very curt. Yeah.
And so I'm like, what did you know compared to everybody else? It definitely starts to like hit like gray areas of war, and this is where when that happens, Scorch then makes a call to activate another shadow, and the other shadow is like. And this is the part that made me think Black Ops. The other shadow goes, why was I activated? So I'm wondering, was he sitting somewhere, all of a sudden like, execute Order 67?
Not Order 60. Oh, God.
or Order like 90, I don't know, whatever they want to do. And then he like just gets up, goes, puts on the thing, and like he stops being whatever they have him as kind of now. And then he becomes Shadow.
That's gonna be another GTA meme I'm gonna make. It's gonna be the Shadow, and in the alleyway, just like San Andreas, and he's like, "Ah, shit, here we go again." It's one of my favorite memes of all time.
It's a great meme. I mean, like Gen Z, Gen Z really rocks that meme as she tries to fight all of her bosses repeatedly.
It's not talking. Hey. Anyway, back to the batch.
Also, was Scorch confirmed before this? So I wrote down Scorch confirmed, and this could be because like I just don't remember or what have you. But when he actually went in, it was just him alone in the room. It said Scorch on the like captions,
Mhm.
and then it's like activate the bulb.
No, he was confirmed back in season 1.
Okay, he
when
was?
when they went to go break Gregor out of prison, basically.
But did he like confirm it in like in the captions or something? Like he said.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Oh, okay. Then it's, like there's nothing there, and I know we talked earlier this season, but I remember seeing a lot of like Clone Trooper, Clone Commando, not just Scorch.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like,
We're also introduced in this episode to another clone commando, Milo, which again is a really cool name. Scorch, Milo, great names. Hauser, amazing name.
Wait, what? Milo?
Yeah,
Great name.
you don't like Milo?
Oh, just
Oh, okay.
it's not that. It's just like
All right, I'm sorry that you have bad taste. Anyway, moving on. Ever since we had the conversation of what familial roles the Bad Batch serves,
Okay.
I can't stop seeing Echo as a mom, and so they land. He calls Echo back or Omega back for a moment. I was like, "Hey, I got you something."
Hey, honey, I know you're going out with your dad.
Yeah.
Here's a crossbow. So
I just
we were sitting at I was sitting at work talking because another guy that really likes Star Wars here, and two, this shows to me I think by the end of this, like one of my predictions, we're gonna see Omega in a hodgepodge of armor, and she's gonna be wearing like everyone's armor.
yeah, you've been sticking to that kind of.
She takes the crossbow, right? She like goes, "Oh wow, a crossbow." He's like, "Yeah, I wish I had some time to modify it more, but I think it'll work for it." And she's like, loads it, like look it down the side, like, "Yeah, this is great." And unloads. I'm like, you did the same motion twice. Like, how is this? I want
It's Star Wars. Don't mention it. Don't. It's some of Echo's modifications.
It's just like she like goes like this, like, and it's like charged, it's pulled all the way back, and then she does that again, and it just like goes away, and the thing. I was just like, this doesn't make sense.
Oh, brother.
But I was just
Leave it to you to critique the weapons mechanisms. Here, we're not going down this rabbit hole again with you.
So I mean, for one, in my defense, Star Wars is the most inconsistent.
Oh,
with
of course.
With its blasters.
Anyway,
like, some of them have batteries, some of them take bullets, but they're lasers. Some of them take bolts, but they're this. Like, it's just all over the place. Although I do have to say, like, her getting a crossbow makes sense because in the last season she had the bow and arrow.
Yeah, she's graduating.
Well, no, it was cool, but like, because she had to like struggle to pull it back.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I actually wonder if like she couldn't get all the way back, would it be like a velocity of like an actual arrow if you didn't get it fully docked, and like the bolt just goes like that, it just becomes, or if she could shoot it and maybe it hits somebody, but even stormtrooper armor is like able to diffuse that blast.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those. From a practicality standpoint, I'm like, I'm glad it still feels like Omega, and it's not like, here's your first gun, kid. It kind of feels like you're right, a graduation, but keeping it as you're Omega, you're different from the rest of us.
Very nicely said.
Thank you.
Great comparison.
I really like some of that stuff.
So while Omega's getting, her nice shiny new weapon, we're greeted with
in the most video game way possible too.
Oh yeah.
Hey kid, here's your gun. Go on this mission. That was Mrs. Play other Mrs. Play's other point. Yeah.
You got a crossbow. But yeah, so as that's taking place, the rest of the batch, you get to see Rex. Hauser's with him, and he is pissed.
Yeah.
Because here you are, you have Crosshair rejoining the batch, and I feel so bad for Crosshair because, he's getting both sides of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
Every episode, poor Crosshair has to convince somebody else to trust him again. The last episode, he had to convince the batch. This episode, he has to convince Hauser, Rex, that he's a changed man. I loved a lot of the hostility that we got from Hauser right off the bat, just because he's right. Half the majority of his squad from Ryloth is dead
Yeah.
on Crosshair's orders, which was one of my favorite episode arcs of the entire season, in season 1. So a lot of hostility, and they're right not to trust him. I mean, because they don't have that brotherly connection that the rest of the batch have with them. So all of a sudden, you have this elite Imperial sniper coming back to join his friends. You're like, are you sure he is?
Mm-hmm.
Are we not being played right now? So you get to see a little bit of their base, about their monastery. They got some ships, nice courtyard. They've been stocking up on armor. We're introduced to a few clones, most of them who I think were making their appearances for the first point.
Fireball, I do not recommend. I don't recommend. I don't remember.
Greer, I feel like was a clone name that I had heard before, but apparently not. So that was kind of interesting. I was kind of hoping we'd see more of the clones from back of the day, but then I realized the majority of them are dead already.
Yeah.
So they went, all the 501st ones went down with the ship.
Or they're still with.
Quite literally.
Yeah, or they are still with
Darth
Vader. Yeah.
And then between Obi-Wan's regiment, didn't see Cody. Is it Waxer or Boyle that died on Umbara during the whole friendly fire?
I thought they both died by the end of that series.
Because one of them is alive.
I know when we see the Twi'lek girl in either Rebels or in Bad Batch, like towards the end, she has their armor and she's got like Waxer's insignia and Boyle's insignia.
Yeah.
By Rebels.
Yeah, she does. That's like a paying homage. But one of them is alive. I think Boyle is the one who survived, and Waxer was the one who got in.
I'll confirm that real quick.
Oh, thank you.
Peter.
So yeah, really the only clones of note that are with Rex at this time are Echo and Hauser. Big Hauser fan over here because he just has cool hair. He's just a good guy.
Waxer was killed.
It was Waxer. Thought so. Where's Boyle?
Yeah, Boyle served in Ghost Company until the end of the Clone Wars.
Waxer and Boyle, they were stars.
The Ryloth arc,
beautifully done.
I think a lot of the things now where it's just like, hey, let's just see people that aren't Jedi.
Yeah,
and it's just like, well, what are you?
What are you up to?
Who are you as a person? Where it's like, oh, who are you as a Jedi? Oh, you're a powerful Jedi. You're not a powerful Jedi, and that's all we care about.
Yeah,
you have a cool lightsaber. They make fun of your lightsaber. Like that's all it actually feels about with Jedi. Whereas like it's the clones. It's like, oh, who was your favorite? Oh, wow, that's a hard one. Like I like Waxer and Boyle. I like these. So yeah. Oh god, that just opens up a whole other can of worms. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So they're talking in the command center about the fact that Omega's on this list. She's wanted for the Empire. It's obvious that Rex and Hauser and the rest of the regs don't trust Crosshair at this point, and they start pushing him for that information. Hauser especially, I mean, because that's just how clones are. They are clones of Jango Fett after all. They can't get rid of that part. And you kind of see that, I don't want to say Crosshair's being a douche about it, but he kind of is being a douche about it. He doesn't really like to, he doesn't, I guess, feel the need to vindicate himself for Hauser. Like, that's the stuff that he did.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that he lives with. The fact that he's being pressed about it now, he seems kind of annoyed by it,
So I think it's an annoyance not because he's better than them or anything like that. I think it's like, dude, no matter what I would say to you right now, you're going to be like, well, fuck you, you're a dirty traitor face. Like, yeah. So he
can't win. Crosshair can't win.
He only has actions, which I like that does get addressed.
Yeah. And really the whole conversation is centered around, Crosshair, are you telling us everything? Which, as we segue into interrogating the Shadow, the ex-clone, whoever he is, because his numbers were erased and all that jazz. Turns out that Crosshair is not telling you everything. The kind of the smirk that clone gives, it's so creepy.
You could have been one of us.
And it kind of it feeds into the whole fears of like maybe Crosshair is playing us. But you get into this interrogation. Everybody's around you. We're trying to get more information as to what happened to this clone. Why is he not talking?
Hauser's like, we're gonna eat the waterboard in a minute, boys.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this thing.
It's some Guantanamo type stuff. All the while, the second operative that was activated is doing his best sneaky Archer impression and sneaking around their base.
Can I throw out, like, there was one line in this that I loved from Crosshair. That's like, well, how do we know? He goes, I'm defective. It's in my nature.
Yeah.
Fucking goddamn right, dude.
Yeah.
Oh. That line went. He's like, it's in my nature to be defective. And I was just like,
damn.
Oh, that's a good line. Oh, that's a really good line.
Yeah. So you have these two simultaneous scenes happening. The clones, the security leaves a little bit to be desired. Just all their nice shiny new ships and all their weaponry and ammo and stuff that they've been hoarding to make a run at Tantus to free their brothers.
It was so
it's gone.
So it was so comical because you're like he's doing his best Archer thing. Like it was like I've watched you play a little bit of Skyrim. It was some Skyrim levels of like bullshit shenanigans. Where, like the one clone is like gonna put back on his helmet. He's like at the manning a station and he stops at the door, and the clone's like, dude, and he's like, Peter Pan goes into the room that they're all in, and it's just like, there's a box over here. There's a dog that can smell me. And Omega's like, what's up? Oh, you're still hungry? I'm not really hungry. Here's my food. The dog goes back. It was like such a video game mission where it was just like, none of their cones of vision like ever crossed him, and the dog never left its food. Like, last levels of the original Splinter Cell game.
And on top of that, you have Hunter who can sense things, who can feel when something's off.
Oh shit! I totally
yeah. So not only that, but I was sitting there and I was like, Omega, stop feeding Thatcher. He's had enough. Let him suss it out. There's somebody who's not supposed to be here.
She's had enough.
Also, Thatcher's a girl.
Thatcher's a girl.
That's that just got confirmed for us this episode.
No, she was that in episode 1.
They never specified it.
Omega says she like 3 times.
Really?
Yeah, she does.
News to me.
But she's like treating her. Yeah, Thatcher's a girl.
News to me. All right, well, we got a Thatcherette.
I don't know. I like Thatcher going both ways.
So yeah, they're getting into the nitty gritty of this interrogation. It's not working well. But Crosshair's like, you shouldn't have brought him here. And I'm like, thank you. Somebody with some sense. If you're going to interrogate somebody, interrogate them off the premises, please. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, you're, as you said, we scanned him. He's clean. You're not going to detect what kind of stuff is in there. And they're like, how do you know? I know. And that's what leads into the whole, well, what if this happened to you? It's like, well, I'm a defective because, he's just Crosshair is the king of great one-liners in this show. But I want to harp back on my point that this is really Crosshair's character development and his redemption arc has been so great to see. I almost find myself watching these episodes of The Bad Batch for just more of Crosshair.
And so going between these two, because this is pretty much where it starts to segue episodes, right?
Yep.
So Shadow leaves because he sees Omega, and he goes out and he calls Scorch and goes, hey, I've got the primary target here. And Scorch is like, sit back, wait for extraction team. And he's like, cool, what about everyone else? He goes, I don't care, kill her, but she needs to be alive. Hard cut, Wolf confirmed. Like, just seeing Wolf, like, the helmet and everything else, like, it was one of those things, I was like, yeah, and I was like, oh, I can't wait wait, there's another episode.
Yeah.
These episodes being back-to-back I think were so necessary because this second episode, I was like, this isn't good
You think on its own?
on its own. If you would have done this as like, if I would have waited a week and been like, okay, they got out,
Yeah.
I would have been so annoyed because I feel like 95% of what mattered was that first episode, and that second episode was like, okay, how are we gonna get away? Crosshair Hauser having a moment, a fight, and then like the very end of that episode was all that mattered.
Yeah.
And I feel like you could have made,
and that's why they released these episodes together, and we're talking about it together.
Yeah.
Because that would have sucked. We would have had a really great first podcast episode, and then the following week would have been like, well, some stuff happened, and they got out.
they got away.
Cool.
Yeah, here we go.
I was expecting to see a Star Destroyer or something. I just feel like when you have the most important asset that you're looking for from an Imperial standpoint, that you'd send in more than just like 2 shuttles. Like Omega's there,
But she's only important to
Hemlock,
not
Who is-
anyone else.
who is working directly for the Emperor, and who said earlier in the season, any resources that you need, you will have at your disposal. So send in more than 2 shuttles, but hey, I don't want to tell you how to do your job, Empire. I'm sorry that I could run a better Empire than you. I would have made different choices. And I would have unlocked the key to eternal life. So, eternal.
Here's my backup to that, right? And we're seeing this. We saw this a lot in The Mandalorian. We see this a lot in Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Where it's like you have all these other Grand Admirals. We saw this in Rogue One, where bad guy.
Director Krennic?
Director Krennic's coming in, so you know he's rolling around right now, overseeing the creation of the Death Star. So you have to think that and we talked about this like 2 episodes ago, so you guys can go back and I won't harp on it too long, but the Emperor is running it like everyone's a Sith apprentice.
Yeah.
So all of his higher ups are Sith apprentices vying for power. So if I were Hemlock, I would also be like, I want quick, I want fast, I don't want other people to know what we're working on.
Okay, that's fair. That's a
because
good
then
point.
someone else starts doing the same thing, and now we've got.
It's stupid, but it's a good point.
Yeah, and but I mean that's also like how the
Yeah,
that is the Empire that nobody else sees. The Empire is like good for you and I because we don't see it.
Yeah.
But for up there, like
that harps on the entire power structure of not only the Empire but the Sith in general, where it's like with the Republic, you have your Senate, everybody's sitting in a circle, whether you're like in the Senate building on the floor in that case, or the Jedi Council, for instance, everybody's sitting facing each other having the discussion. But with the Sith, it's a power triangle.
Yes, it's a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, it is a pyramid scheme because no matter what you do to try to grab power for yourself, the person at the top of that pyramid.
Hold on. Let me think about this. So the rule of 2. All right, I'm at the top. I'm going to recruit 1, but I'm secretly going to recruit 2 to break the rule. They're going to recruit 2, and I'm going to have an army of Sith.
But yeah, so that actually fits. The agent, the Shadow, the one that gets dispatched second.
Yes.
When we first saw the first clone assassin way back in, was that season 1 or maybe season 2? Anyway, when we get to see it on Coruscant, we get to see Rex, and then they capture the assassin. He says, he's like, oh, Rex, like, I know you. They're all coming for you, yada, yada, yada. And then he bites down on his Star Wars version of cyanide and bites the dust. I just feel like the first 2 assassins, they were able to take down relatively easily. But then you have this third guy who is just, why does he have plot armor? Is it like, am I just looking at a red herring here? But he managed to survive, like, I don't know, 4 different I should have died here moments.
Okay, I'm trying to think about that. He was barbecued by Fireball.
Yep.
Which, by the way, Fireball coming in with food and shit to make it hotter.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Fireball. You were the real MVP for a moment. He gets burned by him. Crosshair still on the top of his game.
Trick shots though.
Huh?
I say at least he can't get the really nice shots, so he has to cheat. That was they were having a 1v1 on Rust, 360 no scopes, and he cheated. He had a nade.
He put an underbarrel 40 millimeter grenade launcher attachment onto that. So I'm not gonna lie. At first, when I saw it, I was like, "Oh fuck, he's gonna put the mirror there. The mirror's gonna hit the wall, and then as the mirror hits and solidifies, it's gonna shoot. And that's how he's gonna get him." And then it was a grenade, and I was like, "I mean, that actually works much better than my dumb idea." But I was like,
that makes more sense.
They're gonna do the mirror thing again. He's like, "Just throw him anywhere." I was like, "This is cool." Grenade. All right.
But yeah, so the entire second episode.
Go ahead. I'm just going through all the lips. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the majority of the second episode just plays out like a chase scene, and the big things here are the connection that Crosshair and Omega form.
I think it's actually been there.
No, I mean, well, strengthening, not form, but because they've had a connection since the very first episode of the show. But Crosshair, I guess he's coming for Hunter's Dad of the Year award because he's like making sure Omega has everything, and Omega's like, "You're worse than Hunter."
No, he's like, "God, you're as bad as Hunter."
Or, yeah,
I'm worse.
Yeah.
It's like, it was one of those things where it's like, oh,
the dad badge plus Echo.
Plus Echo. Dad badge T-shirts. All I want to do now is have them all with their armor on, Hawaiian shirts, and dad boat shoes.
Oh yeah,
and then
next to a grill.
Everything else just looks the same.
Should just have like an 80s sitcom opening with them.
New T-shirts, guys. Dad badge. Tyler's got you.
I hope he didn't get beat to that idea. But no, so it's nice that Hauser overhears that exchange between Omega and Crosshair, and while they're walking through the forest, he's starting to slowly come into realizations like, "Oh, you're a lot different than you were on Ryloth." Well, no shit, Sherlock. He got tortured by the Empire. He learned that he is just a number in the system. He doesn't matter to them. He's not going to stand for that. Loyalty means something to him. So nice of you to join the party, Hauser. It took you long enough. It was, like I said, your typical chase scene. I loved the interactions between the second operative and Wolf. Wolf's just pissed off at this dude. Like, "You're not obeying orders. Like, talk to me. Like, I'm sorry that your comm's broken." Oh, and one of the other clones is like, "Oh, sir, he went rogue." He's like, "Of course he did. I don't deal with him later. He's whatever." That really leads us up to a very harrowing 1v1 again between Crosshair and the agent.
I liked the enemy at the gates feel, the two snipers against each other.
Yeah.
Because I do like that the Shadow, while they're proficient with everything, and we're really gonna get into that probably for the latter half of this will just be thoughts and that stuff. But where it was okay, I like that Crosshair could feel him. Crosshair told Omega "You need to know when you're being watched. Hold up." And one guy's like, "What?" I was like, I wish it wasn't quite that bad, but okay. Also,
yep.
I feel it. And then just goes into okay, let me throw down thermals, use my scope. It was really good to feel okay, we're doing a bit of sniper battle.
And it's funny that you bring up the sniper battle because we don't ever see this operative's face.
Yes.
Which, like I said, I'll save for the end of the pod so we can really get into that. Yeah, it was a pretty good sniper battle. Until they end up both falling down some waterfalls.
Short waterfalls.
Don't go chasing waterfall. Anyway.
Stick to the rivers and the streams. Sorry.
There's your singing portion of the pod.
There's. By the way, I was told not to use these mics for singing by the company. They're not singing mics.
Oh.
It was a joke.
Oh, I thought they were like.
It's
yeah.
a Mrs. Play and I joke that I did with you because why not? Let me
You
bring
did
you
a
inside. Yeah,
you did a joke to me when I didn't know the context.
Yep.
You did an inside joke
exactly.
to somebody on the outside. Anyway, whatever.
That's how we bring you on the inside.
I hate how there are only 2 people in this show that we know. Well, technically 3 now because the third one's finally here. There's only 3 people in this show that we know have plot armor because we see them in Rebels, and that's Rex, Wolf, and Gregor. So every time that something bad is happening, I'm just holding my breath. Like when Crosshair and the agent are going at it, and he sticks Crosshair under the water. I was sitting there. I was like, is he really going out like this? Is that how that's gonna work? Because nobody has plot armor. This is how I felt in Game of Thrones when I knew nobody is safe.
Yeah,
it's because nobody truly is safe. Like R.I.P. Tech, allegedly, unless the agent is Tech. Who knows? Anyway. But I guess that he gets saved by Hauser in that scene, right?
He gets saved by like Hauser, and Hauser's like, "Hey, what happened to you?" And he does the whole like, what is it? He does the like, "What happened to you?" And he goes, "I learned I wasn't expendable. Like I saw how they treated us. I saw that loyalty didn't mean anything." And then Hauser's like, "Word."
This guy's all right.
Yeah, like a word. Okay, we're on the same page.
Yeah. The agent going over that large waterfall. I sat there and I was like, he's not dead.
Oh,
of course.
Misplaced. I mean the same thing.
Yeah.
Didn't see a body.
No body. They get to the extraction point. Wolf and his clones get there first, which I thought that was interesting that it was just clones that were ordered to bring him in that were a part of that strike team.
Mm-hmm.
But then it makes sense because you and I are of the sound belief fact that clones are more proficient. They do a better job. So when you need to recover somebody or you need some serious shit done, send in the clones because they'll get it done.
Yes.
Like massacring an entire prestigious order that has lasted for over 10,000 years. Anyway.
They'll get it done, and I also...
99% of it. Anyway.
I also think that it's a set them up for something where they're gonna fail, and the Emperor can use that, because we've seen it, like, it's been kind of like, the clones, we can't tell who can be trusted.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. So I think it's also like...
He's right, in this
he is. But this is also how he's going to justify, like, eliminating all the clones.
Yeah, exactly. Can we talk about how beautiful the final shots of this last episode were, though? The strike team ends up getting to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, crap. Like, where's Echo? Is he going to, like, blast him out of the situation? How's that going to work?
Yeah.
They all come streaming out of their shuttles. Wolf's there. Milo, the other clone commando's there. and Wolf, he's like, wait a damn minute. I know this person. And it's like, Rex? It's like, oh, I thought you were dead. And he was like, well, I was. Anyway. But I'm here now. Kind of feels like an Agent Coulson.
Yeah.
Like they said you were dead. Said you went down on a cruiser. It's like, well, I did.
Yeah.
Lost a lot of
good men that day.
Yeah.
A lot of our brothers.
And so if it was anybody else, I wouldn't have really believed that they would have heard them out. But Wolf, he's like, what are you doing? Like, why are you against the Empire? Like, what is this all about? And he's launching that whole spiel. And I didn't think it would work, to tell you the truth, when they're having this whole conversation between the two of them. And then Echo pulls up as Rex is going on about, like, the Empire, we don't share the beliefs. Like, do you really think it's right that you're hunting down a kid?
And this is probably what made that one so great, is that Rex has no idea what the other half of the 501st did. Because Rex is the only 501ster we've seen,
Yeah, fair. I don't.
other than Kenobi, the one who's in 501st armor.
Yeah,
So we have no idea where the rest of the 501st are.
and they didn't really make the whole storming the Jedi Temple public knowledge for obvious
They
reasons.
were wearing blue in all the flashbacks, weren't they?
Yeah.
Right? Were they doing it in the original movie too?
Yeah.
Okay, they were.
Yeah,
But they went back to
behind
the
them?
Finn armor, right?
Or when are you talking about the?
The actual. Go ahead. Go on with it. I'm gonna look this
Are you
up.
talking about in?
Revenge of the Sith?
Are you talking about Ahsoka though, or what? So they didn't have the Finns in Revenge of the Sith. They were in their Phase 3 armor
They were.
or Phase 2 armor. Phase 2.
They do have the fins. They have little fins. It's not the like dolphin fin, but it is like.
Oh well, yeah. I thought you were okay.
I was just.
You were just wondering. So Rex harps on his morality, lays it out for them, like, hey, they're performing heinous experiments on our brothers. Like, we got to get out of here. This isn't right. and Wolf's like, they wouldn't do that to us.
Like, yeah, they need us. We did the whole.
Yeah, we did everything for them.
Yeah, we did the thing.
Yeah,
the stuff with the thing.
But spoiler alert, they don't. They don't need you.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want you now either. I thought it was a really momentous decision once Echo arrives, and they're all leaving, and I'm like, is Wolf just gonna let him?
He's like, and he does. He's like, let him go.
And I thought almost that like maybe the clone commando would have stopped that happening. Like, I know Wolf is in charge of the op, right? But we know the clone commandos are more loyal to the Empire. We see that evidence with Scorch. They're the ones that are guarding this top secret facility and all that.
Scorch just has an axe to grind.
Yeah.
I think that's he is with the Empire out of spite right now.
Probably,
for
yeah.
getting kicked off that. So, and this is Scorch is the only clone commando as well that has personality. Like, his armor is
yellow.
It's Scorch's armor. And this kind of made me think, like, okay, what gen are you, Milo? Right? And that was kind of my thing, where it's like all the wolf, I'm gonna call them the wolf pack, the wolf clones.
Yeah, no, right, the wolf pack.
They all still kind of have their armor, like, colored things like this. Like, they still have a lot of their markings and their personality. But Milo makes me think of a shiny. So yeah, he's a commando. Yeah, he's stronger. But the way Wolf talked to him, I'm like, it's like, okay, yeah, you're a Navy SEAL, but like, you're also like, you still just joined. Like, you haven't
you're
seen
green
anything
behind the
yet.
ears
Yeah,
still.
you're super. So that's kind of how I was feeling on that one.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that he allowed it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But you have the seed that's planted with Wolf that maybe he's not on the right side of history here, because we do know that he makes it through. He ends up retiring with Rex and Gregor at some point. And actually, one of the lines that Rex had in that episode of Star Wars Rebels, Wolf contacts the Empire about Kanan being there with Ezra. It's like, oh, Jedi, they're going to get us all killed. He's paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
After that entire sequence happens, they fight off the Empire. And Rex is talking about Wolf to, I think he's talking to Ezra or Kanan or both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, the war's left its scars on all of us. So I can't imagine that Wolf is going to go back to Hemlock and be like, yeah, I let him go. Because they're just, they're rogue. Like, this wasn't right. Why would you call us against our own brothers? And I don't think Hemlock's going to be like, no, that's fair. You had our top priority in our sights, the most important person that we need to capture right now, right there on a ledge, and you just let them walk out, get into their ship. No, congrats, Wolf. You're getting promoted.
Yeah.
Great job, buddy. I'm not really sure that's the awakening that he's leaving with. Get to see Gregor at the very end of this episode. He would have been pretty useful during that whole jungle jungle scene. We've seen Gregor do some crazy ass stuff, you know.
Yeah.
The one clone, and I want to get into this with you for just a moment. Where is Cody? I thought Cody would have made his way to Rex by now, but did he just, Admiral Rampart tells us after that op him and Crosshair worked together on, right?
Yes.
And
that was Cody.
yeah. After that, he's like, "Oh, Commander Cody? Yeah, he went AWOL. Where is he?"
So okay. So now we're just gonna get into theory crafting for the end of this. Like I said, that second episode was really quick to go through, which is why we just focused so much on that. So who is the clone, right? All the clones have looked very generic. Like they've looked like the clones
Rigged.
out of the batch.
Yeah.
None of them have had the personality. So I know one of the things I saw was Dogma possibly being it, because of his proficiency with the blade. And I was like, okay, that's a cool one. Do they erase the tattoos that he has? Like, what do they do to him that makes him, look like this? Because if it's one that has this, but Cody always just looks like Jango Fett.
Well, he has a scar on his,
And it's so subtle that, hey, maybe like he knows something and he gets pulled off and he gets it done to him, and because he still always looks relatively normal but they can't hide the scar, that would be it. Because my question is, what is going to be the ultimate conflict of the Shadows? I don't think the Shadows are anything to do with the Bad Batch. I think they are the direct comparison and the direct antithesis of the clones. They are what the clones could have been as like heartless killing machines. They're super proficient, sleeper agent programs, and they go out and do a job. But instead, for the Clone Wars, we got personality. We got life finds a way.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
So like someone was talking to me, was like, I like Cody the best. Cody going AWOL, it could just be like Cody also knows, and he and Rex need to stay far apart, and they'll communicate when they need to. Or it'll be like the next episode when they're all getting away, like, what do we do? Don't worry, we'll go see an old friend. They go see Cody, and that's the reveal of Cody. And this now also sets itself up to be like, the clones failed. Your Shadows failed, so clones double failed. Can't trust them. Let's go to bounty hunters. So now I think the rest of the series is going to be bounty hunters, and this one just had to be the catastrophic failure of the clones. Because not only did they not show up with their with their targets, they're going back to pick up every dead clone in there because they're still brothers.
Yep.
Even though they're traitors.
Yep.
So I think that is the death sentence of the clone army right there.
We're not going to get a really nice scene next episode.
No, we're not.
With Hemlock, but it's coming. He's that man is going to fly off the handle.
Yeah.
Which I can't blame him in this instance because they had him right there. Like, that's not.
They did.
That's just. They were right there.
Yeah.
I'm in agreement with you on that. I think it's kind of a red herring, the fact that we haven't seen this clone. But I think it would be cool. One of the theories I've seen is that maybe it's a clone of Crosshair, and it would make sense because he's really proficient with a sniper and stuff like that.
But the last one also had the sniper rifle.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we're just talking about theories. I think it'd be
that's fair.
It'd be cool. There's no way it's tech. I wish though.
That's the other theories that it's tech.
Come on.
I don't think it's tech.
I know, but are we in agreement then that it's red herring that they've gone through so much to make sure that we see that this clone has survived 3 separate times? Because at the end of that episode, he's climbing out of that freaking waterfall like it's no big deal. What are you? But I hope it's not. I heard this explained in a couple of different places, but people are hoping that it's not. You know how Star Wars fans are, ourselves included. We like to really dissect things, and sometimes that causes us to build things up in anticipation that aren't really.
We ruin
there.
our own fun.
Yeah, exactly. Because Star Wars fans never do that. What?
Never.
So I'm just experiencing it with that guy as it is. If it turns out to be somebody we know, cool. If it doesn't, cool, because it still serves a purpose, like you said. You got other theories though?
So someone keeps saying Cody, but you're right. Cody went AWOL. So unless they're like somebody realized that Cody was like Cody's not on the like, I don't think his heart's in it, like, kind of deal.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there I'm like, I feel like we would have seen, like, you would have done something to point to like he's being watched, and it wouldn't just have been. It wouldn't have just have been what it is, like where it's just like, okay, he went AWOL. Like, I think Cody was sent to try to, and I think we talked about this last time. I think Cody was sent to try to get Crosshair out and like start showing Crosshair like, hey, maybe things aren't in here. Get him back to the Bad Batch because they're gonna need the Batch at its fullest to do this job. They're gonna need to be like how they were for Anakin, and the only people that can think like that are gonna be the Bad Batch.
Yeah. Except they're missing tech.
Except they're missing tech. So Cody'd be cool, but I like, it doesn't make sense. I think Waxer Waxer. I think Waxer would be the like that would be the gut turn.
Yeah, please don't do that to me.
That'd be the gut turn.
I can't handle that.
Also, being someone like Dogma or somebody who is a member of the 501st Legion, that Rex would instantly. That's more or less what I'm going from. Even if it's a no-named person from the 501st.
Was Dogma not on the Venator when it went down?
I don't think he was. I think he was one of the ones that didn't go with him. But that's, I think, to be the most poignant, it would need to be someone we know, or
Nobody at all. Just another.
it needs to be somebody that would have been like closely related to Rex. And so I think then it leaves us with like a 501ster. I don't care if we've never met him. 501st is a big legion. More clones get added all the time. Rip Domino. And
You didn't have. Come on.
That's true.
Don't.
No, that was a low blow.
R.I.P. Domino Squad. Gone but never forgotten.
Yeah.
Except they're not completely gone because Echo's still
still there, yeah.
half of them.
Quick updates. The Dad Batch is a podcast. It is 5 cosplaying dads who all cosplay as different members of the Bad Batch.
Really? Oh, that's cool.
And they do a podcast series on it. So we
shout out the Dad Batch.
Yeah, shout out the Dad Batch. I haven't listened to any of your stuff, but
if you guys don't have a shirt by now, please let's get going.
Watch, listen. They have merch.
Nice.
The Dad Batch store. I'm looking at that right now. They have like dad. Yeah. Oh my god, it is the most daddy of Dad Batch things that you can see.
If there's not a Dad Batch Hawaiian shirt on there, then I don't want it.
They have a Dad Batch apron.
Oh, right. Nice.
Yeah. So, and a fanny pack.
Oh, okay. All right. You'd love to see it.
Yeah. They have it. Yep. They have a tiki. They do have a Dad Batch Hawaiian shirt. So that kills our thing. But yeah. So, hey, if you guys have theories too, please let us know in the comments below, either on YouTube, hit us up on Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, the YouTube channel.
Courier pigeon. Don't forget the courier pigeon.
Courier pigeons, they still need work. Courier pigeons need work too. Let us know what your theories are, because I'm really interested to hear what the workshopping is around this. I predict next episode will be like a Empire episode. We won't see the.
I'm thinking maybe Wolf is going to be the centerpiece. I didn't have that thought before we were talking about, hey, maybe this isn't going to turn out great for him.
Yeah.
But as much as I'm kind of clueless as to how this all ends. So
I'm a person that loves to read the last chapter of a book before I start it.
Oh, you're terrible. Oh, that's awful.
I'm gonna order a book and force you to read it, and it'll tell you why. But yeah, so like this.
Why would you do that to yourself? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Honestly, why? Because does knowing the end change anything?
Yes.
Does it?
Yeah.
If you read the last chapter with no context, does it mean anything to you?
Depending on what the last chapter is, depending on the book, it can be yes or no. However, I think it's nice to go through a journey blind.
We can have a whole topic on.
We'll get into this later.
Yeah. But yeah, Thank you guys so much for watching us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All your podcast platforms of choice. Just so you guys know, next week we will not have a live podcast. So you're off the hook. Mrs. Play and I will be in PAX. So we'll be in Boston. Say hi if you're out in PAX East and you want to hang out with us. Be on Discord. Hit us up on Twitter. Maybe Mrs. Play and I will do a little meetup because they're friends that are up there.
Nice.
So might have some things on that. Taking Mrs. Play to a lot of tasty food places.
Very nice.
That following week, though, when we get back, you guys can look forward to a double podcast week. We will be back for another 2 episode of The Bad Batch, which I think will be kind of nice. And then
is it really again? Or
well, no, because we'll have 2 episodes.
Oh yeah,
past.
duh.
So
Okay.
we'll do a 2 episode live. Mrs. Play and I might do a live podcast, but we'll do our PAX recap cast. So you'll probably have that on Saturday, and then the PAX recap cast on Sunday, so that way we can tell you all the cool stuff that we saw at PAX East. Remember, you're all winners out there. Take care of your friends here and elsewhere. Keep it weird, and have a fantastic rest of your day, everybody.
And eat some scones.